I'm now going to just put a cold towel on my face and hand over to James Taplin from Innovate UK, who's going to talk about a new funding announcement. James, you there?
I am indeed. Yeah, can you see me? Can you hear me?
I can. Over to you.
Yeah, hi there. Good morning, all. Thanks, Guy and team, for allowing me a moment just to speak to you. It seemed like a really good opportunity, given the audience and given the topic, to talk about a little bit very briefly about some funding that we've got coming up. So I'm leading our net zero living strategy in the Innovate UK urban team. As you possibly know, net zero is one of Innovate UK's sort of 3 priority areas, as we announced in our recent strategy. And we've got sort of 7 different strands of work within that. So we've got 4 more traditional thematic strands of work looking at heat, power, mobility, and everything around sort of making and using products. And then we've got 3 cross-cutting themes around green finance, around sort of circular critical materials. And the piece that I'm and others are working on is around the Net Zero Living Thriving Places, which is really about how you're supporting local government, how you're supporting places to be more innovative, and how you're supporting those places in taking the opportunities from net zero, understanding, or better understanding how best to implement net zero the transformative programs at a local level to deliver the results that you're looking for. So it builds on all of the work we've heard this morning, and it links in indeed with all the work we've heard this morning. There are 3 interlinked parts of that program, and very briefly run through them. They're in the process still of being signed off they're still UKRI level, so there's still some small potential for change, but the current plans are we have a Net Zero Pioneers program. This is going to be run in 2 phases, and the first phase of that will be open for information that will be coming out today. It'll launch as a competition on the 26th of October. The Pioneers program is really for places that have done some work on net zero, understand a lot about what the net zero challenges are and how to drive a change across those sort of a number of those 4 system areas that I talked about earlier. They've probably implemented or tried to implement a number of net zero solutions and have come up across some of the barriers that we've talked about this morning already. So things like finance, user engagement, skills, capability, capacity, governance, policy, regulation, so on and so forth. And the first phase is really small pots of funding up to 75k. The idea is to fund up to about 30 places for effectively a sort of a feasibility study that explains exactly what's been done in net zero in your area, what you're trying to achieve, what barriers you've come up against, and how you would go about removing those barriers if you had sort of follow-on funding. The second phase then will be for those places that have received those awards in the first funding round, and they're likely to be a share of about 28 million for somewhere between 3 to 6 places as a contribution to then implementing some of those plans. So that's the sort of Net Zero Pioneers program, and I guess the reason talking to you about this morning is the first phase of that should be live today and will be launching imminently. There's a second strand of work as well. No, Nigel, there aren't slides on this, although if you go to the next slide, Anna, I should have my contact details on it, and please feel free to contact me there if you need to. There's a second strand of work which we're calling Fast Followers. This is a sort of skills, capability, capacity program for 2 years, funding up to 20 places with a sort of managed program of building those sort of skills and capacity, linking through into other tools and approaches, helping support with citizen engagement, user testing, human-centered design, links to building business solutions, and critically also linking through into the finance community. And then there's a third strand of work which wraps around it all, which is about how do you share the best practice and learning from all of that. So it ties in a lot with what we've heard this morning, and indeed it'll be linking with all the Net Zero Go tools and the hubs and the 3CI initiative from the Connected Places Catapult and what Ashton and others are doing, all the work that's being led by Bays. And that'll be about how are you helping spread best practice learning across the fast followers and the pioneers and out to the wider sector, and how you're doing the kind of the comms and engagement around that. So that's a very rapid canter through what's coming up. As I say, it was just a really good opportunity to talk to you this morning to let you know that the first phase of that is launching. And so please have a look on our website. I'll put my contact details in the chat here as well, so feel free to contact me directly about that. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have afterwards about that. Thanks a lot.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, James, for gate crashing and talking through the options. I'm sure there will be questions about that in the chat, but it's all part of what we're trying to do at the Energy Systems Catapult, which is, you know, spread information and make it easy as possible for local areas to make progress and meet some of the ambition they're talking about.